We are back with episode number 6 of Read Watch TV, covering The Last of Us. Today, we're going to cover episodes 2 and 3. Before we get started, Randy, do you want to hit him with the socials?
Episodes 3 and 4.
Episodes 3 and 4.
I'm
early.
I'm down to run it back on episode 2 if you want. Just talk about it again.
I don't have the emotional bandwidth to do that. I've actually cut that episode out of my memory, so in my brain, these are episodes 2 and 3.
Yeah. So, episodes 3 and 4. Here for just The Last of Us chat. Consider checking out the regular episodes. We are in Mafia May, so we'll be hitting 2 classics from Martin Scorsese, Goodfellas, and Casino, the adaptations of the novels, both penned by Nicholas Pileggi. And most important, follow, subscribe, whatever it is, Apple, Spotify, almost said Spodcast, Spotify, YouTube. Man, it is early. Nick and I are doing this in the morning before work. Rate us 5 stars. Leave us a review if you're on Apple. That'd be nice. We would love to read that. You can follow us on Instagram at Rewatch Play Podcast, or you can email us at rewatchplaypod@gmail.com. Episodes 3 and 4. I mean, I guess if you're somehow listening to this and you haven't heard any of our Last of Us coverage, we will not spoil future events at the beginning. We'll just talk about what we've seen in the show so far. And then towards the end, we'll get into more of a spoiler cast for those who've played the game and want to dig a little bit deeper. But we'll start with episode 3, titled The Path, directed by Peter Hort, written by Craig Mazin. Episode, we see a time jump of 3 months after the infected attack and Joel's death. The town holds council on the response, and after the decision does not go the way that Ellie wished, she sets out with Dina to hunt down and kill Abby. Nick, what did you think of episode 3?
I thought it was good. I thought there was an emotional impact. I thought we needed an episode where not a ton of action or anything crazy was packed in. We needed to decompress from episode 2. And I think that they delivered in a meaningful way and, showed how Ellie got some of the weapons that you're used to in the game, sort of more character development, I'm blanking on his name, but trying to make up for his shitty behavior at the bar.
Seth.
Seth, thank you. I liked how it built out the town from what you see in the game and how everyone interacts and how those meetings went and things that were casually mentioned or not really shown in the game. We really got an insight to here. And we've talked about this several times. I think the big thing that a show can do when adapting something like this or Fallout or whatever is expand on the world we know. And I think they did a good job here in episode 3.
Yeah, I agree with that. We were both so wrong that we were debating, where are we going to start episode 3?
So wrong. We didn't get any of what you and I said, not a single scene.
We were so committed to the flashback, and they went flash forward 3 months. We couldn't have been more wrong. So I laughed pretty hard at that, but I really enjoyed the opening and seeing, the Tommy kind of, wiping Joel down and all of that. It was so much more quiet than I expect. I almost expected a big reaction when we got back to Tommy, but I really appreciated the direction they took with, him being with Joel, cleaning him up and kind of preparing for, a wake. And I really enjoyed that stuff. I agree. I really liked the town hall. The Tommy and Gail convo at the ball game, I think was really enlightening when she's sitting there drinking in the outfield. And I mean, I think that this spans for both episodes, but I really enjoy the moments where Ellie and Dina are they're strategizing together and they're acting as partners. And I'm liking this dynamic where Dina is kind of the brains and the brakes to Ellie's brawn and gas. And that stuff's really working for me when they kind of have those scenes together. I loved when Dina was kind of calling out Ellie, you're just going to go? Where are you going to go? Seattle? Which way is that? Or I don't even think she knew Seattle at that point, maybe. But I enjoyed that stuff a lot. Yeah, I have some, just general game nitpicks, but really, episode 3 I thought was pretty good. I mean, I had a good time with it. I think we'll get into some more discussion points in a second here, but episode 4, Day 1, directed by Kate Herron, introduces us to the WLF leader Isaac and his methods of torture. Meanwhile, Ellie and Dina continue their search for Abby in Seattle, where they come across scars, wolves, and pregnancy news. Nick, what'd you think about episode 4?
You want to talk about like an opening?
Yeah.
Episode 4 with Isaac throwing grenades in there, shutting the door, taking everybody out. That was wild.
Yeah. Did you glimpse who the
I
Federer
did.
soldier was?
I did.
Were you a Drake
Little
and
throw.
Josh kid?
I was a Drake and Josh kid, so
Yeah, me too. Because
uh,
my younger sister, that was, like, she was peak age for that, so she watched Drake and Josh a lot, and that was a
same.
show where I could, like, slip into it and be like, "These guys are kinda making me laugh. I like this
Yeah, it
one."
was like that, iCarly, and a couple other shows that were in the rotation for her.
Yeah,
Because Miranda Cosgrove went from like right from that into iCarly. I think I don't know,
yeah.
whatever. But I just remember them being on TV all the time. Yeah, what an opening! What an introduction to Isaac, and I think they did a really good job showing who Isaac is in the video game
Mhm.
for not having a ton of screen time to do it. They they had some really meaningful scenes, really 2 scenes that were very meaningful and gave you all the information you need to know about Isaac.
Yeah, I mean, you said kinda like the expanding of the world. This is exactly what I want from the show, where I've played the game. Is it wonderful to get, like, a beat by beat recreation of the game? Like, yeah, that's nice to see. It's nice to see it in a different medium, but this is, like, what I want, like, more of these stories that they didn't have a chance to expand on because it was already such a big game that I was like, "Man," I was so pumped at this opening scene. I thought episode 4 was so good, like, so good. I loved the Isaac intro, especially because when we were kinda tracking on that truck and they were having this conversation, I was like, "I'm not quite sure where we're going yet. I don't know if this is going to be an origin story of, if we're flashing back to Abby here and somehow she's gonna tie into what we're about to see." But man, when they were asking, why do they call them voters? And then the camera pans over to Jeffrey Wright sitting there. I was like, "Oh, hell yeah." Like,
He's awesome.
he's so good. Did you watch Westworld?
Oh, yeah.
Season 1? Yeah, he's unbelievable in that. That was, like, my first, like, real Jeffrey Wright experience.
He was didn't the Hunger Games predate that?
You're right, he did. He was in Hunger Games.
I can't remember which came first because
Absolutely, it was before, yeah. Because
he was
Westworld
in
didn't come
this.
out until, what, like, 2016, 17, maybe?
Are you sure? I thought I
We
still lived in Pennsylvania when Westworld came out. Maybe I'm wrong.
I have no idea because the Hunger Games they were coming out during, like, I think the first one came out
Early
in, like,
2010s.
2011, yeah. Um,
He wasn't in it until the second one.
no, he was season 1.
No, I mean the second Hunger
Oh,
Games.
the second Hunger Games, yeah. Yeah, it was 2016 was season 1.
Okay, yeah, so
Um,
that would have been after.
yeah, a little bit after. Yeah, you're right, but man, what a presence in this show. I mean, I think what I really liked about it was I'm appreciating not only the broadening of our understanding of this world, but it just balances out the stories a little bit nicely where it's not resting entirely upon Ellie and Dina's shoulders to like carry every single episode.
Yeah.
And especially we've been so wrong, like, we haven't gotten any more Abby yet. I mean, she's been gone. So I was really excited at the Isaac introduction, and I thought that was so good. What'd you think about the rest of the episode, kind of after the intro?
Thought it was a really good episode. There was some changes to the theater scene. There was some changes to how we find out that, or not we, Dina finds out that Ellie
Oh, we found
is
out.
immune. Well, we knew Ellie was immune.
Yeah.
Uh, that's kind of the whole premise of season 1. You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah, totally.
um, and I thought they were interesting in choices. I mean, to just break down those two, starting with how Dina finds out Ellie is immune. It's more subtle in the game. So for those who maybe didn't play it, in the game, there are these poisonous spores that can also infect people. And so when
Yeah.
you're down in that tunnel, you need to wear a mask because if you breathe them in, you'll turn. As you're fighting to get out, your mask breaks, which is really not a big deal for you. However, when you come out, Dina sees that your mask is broken.
Mhm.
Here, In the show, obviously, she sticks her arm out to let her get bitten rather than let Dina get bitten, which is a much more intentional act,
Yeah.
which I thought fits the way they're portraying these characters really well.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, that whole scene was so gamey in the best ways possible in that, like, subway type of
Yeah.
I don't know if it was technically a subway, whatever. I think it's a subway system. But I just had a stupid grin on my face watching all of that. I couldn't remember exactly from the game how Dina finds out she can't, so it didn't really stick out to me when that scene happened.
Okay.
But I thought it was a fun choice, and I was like, it was setting up that, that kind of fear, and I was like, okay, I'm like interested to see like how this plays out between them now. But I thought they really nailed everything from them traipsing around like what is hillside in the game to the subway, the fight. I mean, just the production design was off the charts in this episode. Like maybe the best we've ever seen. I mean, how they recreated every part they were going through here, but I really enjoyed it. I I still think episode 2 is probably I mean, episode 2 is just gonna be an all-timer TV episode, but I really, really liked episode 4. I think we've got a few discussion points. One related to what you were just talking about. I think we could just get into with this change, unless you have any kind of other high level thoughts you want to hit on episode 3 and 4.
On the theater scene,
Yeah, I think we can just dive into it. I mean, pretty like you said, it's a subtle change, but it's a big change from what you experienced. And I was kind of like, I had to go back and watch it because I was like, I don't remember it playing out this way. So maybe to like set it up, I mean, in the show, the news, I mean, I think there's two different things happening here. One, in the game, Ellie and Dina are already an item by this point. Like they've they've been together for a little bit. Dina never really went back to Jesse in like this 3-month in between period. Her and Ellie have been a thing kind of since that night at the New Year's Eve party. Kind of been, sleeping together for a while. And when the pregnancy news hits in the game, Ellie reacts angrily. She's like upset that like their mission is a little bit derailed right now. And she's like, damn, you're pregnant. Like, what are we going to do? You can't come anymore. In the show, Dina and Ellie are kind of just sort of crystallizing their relationship. It's like just becoming an item. And the pregnancy news is unveiled and it's reacted with happiness. And it kind of gets them over this moment of mistrust of Dina thinking she has to kill Ellie here because she's turning. So what do how do you feel about the change? What are you thinking? Why do you think they're kind of taking it a little bit of a different direction? Any thoughts
I
there?
think you had to. I don't think the way this plays out in the game is feasible for TV. So in the game, you essentially call, if I remember correctly, you essentially call her a burden, right?
Mhm.
That's the gist. Call her a burden. She can't come with you. And then you go off by yourself for a little bit. That would not be exciting for the next episode. You know what I mean? Like you would have literally had a whole episode of Ellie just running around by herself, and I think it lowers the stakes. And I think having the pregnant Dina there raises the stakes for the TV adaptation. And it will also change that dynamic when they do meet up with
Yeah.
the person I just said. And I
Mhm.
think I think those are going to be really interesting moments. And I think you had to do it. Some
Yeah.
things in video games are not good TV, and you running around killing people for an hour by yourself just doesn't translate to good TV.
Yeah.
So I like it. I think
Yeah,
it was
because
an
it
appropriate change.
because what you're referencing in the game, this is kind of where the only time in the Last of Us game it shifts into a little bit more of an open world. Is that correct at this point?
Hmm.
Where, I mean, I think when you're going around with Dina too, it's open world where you can find a take on me scene or you can, go in these areas. But I think when you leave Dina, you're a little bit on your own as well to explore the area. Is that correct? People are going to be so mad at us.
Yeah, well, I mean, Seattle in general is a little bit open world.
Yeah.
even before, like, when you get to before this moment, in there, but,
Yeah.
yeah, but you're by yourself, I think, for a good bit here, and it's just you're just running around finding stuff, killing people, like,
Yeah. Yeah, I think I was shocked. I think I wanted a little bit more tension in I don't even think I'm bothered by the pregnancy reveal at all, but more so they got I felt like she trusted that Ellie was not infected pretty quick. And I felt like if I mean, look, I'm don't know what it's ever gonna be like to be pregnant, but I'm not sure I would be making out with someone who I saw get bit by infected like 12 hours ago. I think I'd just give it maybe 36 hours or something. I was like, it was just that felt a little rushed. Like we were just kind of speed running towards the end of the episode and where they wanted to get. Where I was like, man, they got over that pretty quickly. And I was excited for a little bit more of a, kind of a something like the thing mistrust of, are you who I think you are still? And I don't think they needed to drag it out, but it felt very unrealistic for them to just completely get over that so quickly.
what is the incubation time?
I have no idea.
It's okay, so because in season 1 with Sam and, like,
Yeah, he was turned
that
overnight.
episode, but, like, by the morning,
Mhm.
he very clearly was.
Yeah,
And it was definitely pitch dark when they
yeah,
got there, so could be, like, reasonable.
yeah,
Also, there's Ellie has enough of those scars
totally.
to, like, prove it, and then it will also add clarity to Dina on her relationship with Joel, like, if I'm sure she told Dina the story, you know, I think I don't know. I I
Yeah,
I hear what you're saying. I don't know what the incubation time is. I don't know what the like, she's like, "Look, my hand's not shaking." Like, does your hand start shaking within a certain amount of time, like, always? And if it's not, you're good. I don't know. I don't know the answers to those things, but that's
yeah,
where my mind goes.
yeah. No, I agree with you that I think, like, I don't think narratively for a show, the best step forward is them splitting up after this, but I did kind of side eye how quickly they were over, especially because I think it would have almost made more sense if their relationship was more established like it was in the game, where I was like, "You guys have been on a camping trip for, like, a week, and now you're calling yourself dad?" I was like, "This is fast."
Well,
Uh,
I mean, it's been 3 months.
yeah, yeah,
It takes them 3 months to get to Seattle.
yeah. I'm not gonna try and psychoanalyze teenage love in a post-apocalyptic world, but that that was the only thing that just, like, really did not work for me in an episode that I really loved. Um,
Yeah, just Randy being a hater again.
I know, man, offering critique, it's like we're podcasting or something. But, yeah, I don't know. All I'm saying is I'm not sure I would make out with someone I'd just give it a little more time.
That's fair.
Let's just give it a beat.
So how long after I get bit by a post-apocalyptic zombie do I have to wait before you kiss me again?
I mean, if I'm not pregnant, I mean, I feel like it's gotta be 2 days.
2 days.
If s if somehow I am, I feel like you gotta wait at least a week.
A
Like,
week.
I mean
You went from 36 hours to 2 days to a week in,
I mean,
like, the same sentence.
36 hours is essentially 2 days, is it not?
It's a day and a half. Just that's like 25% more time.
I mean, I don't know why you're trying to tear down my argument here or
I'm
my
just
feelings.
curious.
Like, I feel like 36 hours to 2 days is not that big of a difference. My bad for trying to offer any challenge to all positivity, but it just didn't work for me.
What
Um,
did you think of the set, though, in
I
that
mean, the
scene,
production design was amazing.
right?
Yeah,
Okay, because I was the subway scene and that scene in particular, the production design brought me right back into the game.
yeah,
I knew exactly where we were. I could remember doing things in the game in these scenes.
Yeah, this is the best we've seen was Seattle, like 100%. It looked completely all practical and unbelievable. Like the absolute best we've seen in terms of the production yet. Because episode 2 was good, but it was also like there was so much CGI in having to do all
Yeah.
the infected stuff, and that still looked really good. But this just looked, it looks beat for beat spot on. And also, man, the light, even just like the end of episode 3 when she's at Joel's grave, just like the lighting in that scene, she's kind of in the gladiator esque fields.
Yeah.
It just looks so good.
Did you before we jump into the spoilers, I had one more thing I wanted to talk about. And I was reading something and I'm trying to find it because I was going to just quote it. But Druckmann said that the reason we're not going to get too in depth with the WLF war right now is because they weren't sure that they had a season 3 yet. And if they didn't have a season 3, they couldn't fit it in, which is why like a lot of the things we're seeing from the WLF and the scars is like from a distance. I thought that was
In the
pretty
game,
interesting. No, in
in
the
the show.
show.
Hmm.
So I don't know that we get too much of it in the next couple episodes either, which I thought was interesting.
Yeah, it's surprising because you would feel like after the success of season 1, they kind of have a lock to do whatever they want to do. Do you think we're getting any more Abby this season?
Oh yeah, for sure. For sure. We have to get more Abby. Is this spoilers?
Not yet.
I don't see a way that we don't get more Abby POV until the end of the show. I actually think next episode will probably have some Abby POV because I don't think, unless they cut it out completely, I don't think it really makes sense to keep doing it if you're not
Mhm.
going to do it next episode. You can't go too long in between because then, like, I just feel like it would lose something.
Yeah, I think the show is really crying out for more Abby. And I feel like the Isaac intro solidified that for me of it's good to just be able to hop around between some of these factions and it changes it up a little bit. So I'm really eager to see more of Abby and her crew. And I hope, man, we both said we really thought Abby was going to be really prominent the rest of this season. But it's been very similar to the game where this kind of happens and then you are no Abby for a bit.
You are left to fester in your
Yeah.
hatred.
Yeah.
I found that quote, by the way, kind
Yeah.
of
I don't know what quote you're talking about, but go for it.
with Druckmann talking about
Okay.
like Isaac and the
Yeah.
war. This is an interview. The interviewer's last name is Mason, and then I'll call Neil Druckmann. He said, "The question is, what is Isaac pursuing? And these questions about the war may not be answered this season. Will there be mysteries?" And Druckmann said, "Now that we're renewed for season 3, we could say you will definitely get those answers."
Yeah. Yeah. I'm excited. I mean, the Isaac, my one critique of the game, and I
Oh,
think
it's
I said
Craig
this.
Mason. That was a showrunner.
Yeah,
He was
Craig Mason's a
speaking
showrunner.
with Druckmann to a reporter.
Yeah.
Okay, I'm sorry. I just went straight to the thing.
No, you're good. Yeah, they were even talking about that in the official podcast because it was interesting where like Troy Baker, the voice of Joel in the game, was asking Craig, like, do you write these episodes differently, being uncertain if you're going to be renewed? Craig was saying more of like, no, you can't write that way. Like you have to have the confidence that this is going to continue and I'm not going to change the narrative for fear of being our show being canceled. He said, Ben Stiller's not writing Severance and thinking I gotta fill out all of the mystery answers this season because I don't know if we're getting another season. He said you just can't write that way. But I'm really glad we're just getting more WLF and Isaac because that was the most undercooked part of the game for me.
Mhm.
Where the whole Isaac stuff just they just didn't have the time to like fully put you in that. And to interact with Isaac, you had to be with Abby or Ellie, and you don't have to do that in the show, where we can just cut to Isaac and see what he's up to. So
Yeah,
I'm excited for that. I had a question for you on this Gail and Tommy conversation. Gail seems to know that that Ellie, she just knows that she's not being earnest in her, petition to the people. She's trying to like withhold her anger there. And she tells Tommy, some people just can't be saved. What do you think they're trying to tell us with that? Or like, do you agree with that? Do you like what is the show trying to convey through Gail about Ellie to us? That like we have this introduction of this character. I didn't prepare you at all for this question, so you're just gonna have to shoot from the dome.
I think that not I think, I agree with Gail. And one of the people can't change unless they want to change,
Yeah,
especially with sort of negative leaning emotions or habits such as addiction, anger issues that, you know, thirst for vengeance. And what I think she's trying to give Tommy in that moment is the freedom from this feeling that it's up to him to make Ellie change.
yeah,
And I think that was Gil's way of letting him know that you can't change Ellie unless Ellie wants to be changed. And Ellie doesn't want to be changed.
yeah, yeah. I
Or not
agree.
changed, unless Ellie wants to change and Ellie doesn't want to change, not be changed. I don't like the way I phrased that, but
Yeah, yeah. I mean, I think they're really hammering this point home with Gail there. I think there's parallels to we're going to talk about the cycles of violence probably every episode here, but in the Isaac torture scene, in a way, they're subtly, not maybe subtly at all, they're directly stating that, where he's like, you know, he says to the guy he's torturing, "You killed my people," and he's like, "Well, you killed us first." And it's like this Hatfields and McCoys, like, who started this? And we're now just running in circles, killing each other. And I think the parallel to that is Gail saying that Ellie doesn't want to get off the merry-go-round of this violence. She she's not ready or wanting to change or to just end, all these hateful feelings. And she's just going to go through with it no matter what any of us say or do, no matter what we vote, at the council
right.
meeting. And it's such a different experience watching this now because you and I have had 5 years to sit with Ellie's choices, where when I played the game, I was still in the mindset of Ellie. I mean, I'm 30 minutes after Joel's death, and I'm with her. I'm like, "I don't care what anyone says. Get me out of this town. I'm going to kill Abby." And now watching the show with 5 years of hindsight and knowing this journey, I don't really feel that way, and I almost wanna be Gail and be like, "Stop, stop, like, do not go." Like like, so it's I think I'm being as open as I can be with this season because I also just have I can Monday morning quarterback it a little bit more than I did in the
Yeah.
game.
I wonder what it was like for people who only had a week, right? Because you're saying Joel dies. You're not turning that game off. You're seeing
No.
what happens next, right? These people who haven't played the game and are now watching the show for the first time, well, obviously for the first time, but
Yeah,
experiencing this for the first time, they had 7 days to simmer on what they just saw. And I wonder, like, what the consensus is there about what Ellie should have done, having
yeah,
a bit more time, but not 5 years to process what happened.
yeah, yeah. I mean, I'm so interested to know, like, what they're really pushing for on the show running side with that because I do feel like they're trying to dial up Ellie a little bit in terms of the petulance isn't the right word, but just when you're an adult and you're looking at a kid making a decision and you're like, you're not making the right choice here, kid. And then, like, I feel like they're trying to dial that up a bit more in the show. So viewers are more on the questioning side as opposed in the game where you're
Yeah.
taking this very personally
Yeah.
and you are ready. you're ready to go. You're also annoyed at Dina, and you're like, "Man, I I'm sorry that you're pregnant. I still got a thing to do here." And in the show, I can have a little bit different of a perspective. So, you got anything else spoiler free to say on the show, or do you want to just hit the quick awards and then get into spoiler discussion?
Yeah, let's jump into some awards.
What was your
Before we
favorite?
do that, hang
Yeah,
on,
yeah,
I gotta go.
totally.
I'm dying here. I need to. This is the most I've talked since Sunday, and my throat's like, "What are you doing?" I'm
Yeah,
trying to mute myself every time.
nah, you're fine. What was your favorite scene of these last two episodes?
I've really liked the underground scene. I
Hmm.
also visually really liked the scenes where they're in Seattle, but not like in a building, where you get
Yeah,
to see the city in ruin. I really liked it. I think,
yeah,
I mean, what I said earlier, the production design is fantastic. And I realize that those scenes are not, them setting up a city, it's CGI, but still, like, it really brings you into the game. And I really appreciate that about
yeah,
this show.
yeah, yeah. I mean, if I could, I would like of episode 4, minute 1 through to the theater was like some of my favorite stuff I've seen in this show. Like
Oh,
I had
yeah.
just such a great time. It was everything they did, everything with Isaac, everything with the subway, every man, them finding the hanging WLF soldiers and the sneaking around the building, them realizing, okay, the scars or the Seraphites, sorry to call you scars, the Seraphites are not, you know, as sympathetic as we thought when we saw them all dead, that there's like these warring factions. And Dina says, what the hell is wrong with Seattle? All that stuff was so good. Um,
Well, and then they brought back if you remember, one of the things we talked about with intentionality and nods to the game is Ellie having to fight people much bigger than her in the
mhm,
opening sequence in season one, or
yeah,
one of the first, or
yeah,
season two, I'm sorry. And they brought it back.
yeah,
And I appreciated that A, they brought that full circle, because I hate throwaway stuff, as you
mhm,
know, in shows. And not that I think Craig or Neil would do that, but that's another big part of the game, is like, you're small and you have to try to get leverage on these bigger people, and
yeah,
they gave it to us. There's a payoff there.
yeah. Yeah, I did really love that in the game of like fighting with Ellie feels fundamentally different than when you're Joel or when you're Abby, because Joel and Abby are such more imposing figures physically that you have to be a little more crafty when you play as Ellie. Like you can't just melee fight people, like you're gonna get your ass kicked. And I love that. Yeah, they're teeing some of that up in the show that, Ellie's been working at this and she has to go about it in unique ways. I'd say my favorite scene was maybe the Isaac intro, because in a post Pedro Pascal world in The Last of Us, I think it injected what the show is now going to become. Like we already knew that Ellie was going to be a through line through all of this, but I think it kind of we had our morning episode in season 3, and then episode 3, and then in episode 4, it's like, okay, here's what the show is now becoming, and I thought they just killed his intro. Um,
That's yeah, that's an interesting way to look at that, and I think you're right.
what was your favorite nod to the game over these 2 episodes? I have one I can give right off the bat if you want to think.
Do it.
I loved everything Dina does with her, just like planning side of her brain. I love so much. And when she was doing getting them quiet and counting the clickers in the subway, which is essentially a visual representation of listen mode in the game, where you can kind of like in the game, you like quiet down and you can see the clickers through the walls and count them and like figure out how you're going to go about getting out of this room.
Yep,
Her sitting there counting the amount of clickers, I was like, this is great stuff. Like, this is just great visual storytelling. I love that so much.
that was good. The nod to that, I didn't pick up on that until you just said it. And now that you've said it, I agree with you. But for the sake of conversation, I will pick a different one. And I am going to say, when you find the guitar,
The best.
because I remember, like, I'm not the best gamer, right? So you find that guitar and you have to play it. and it,
Yeah.
like, makes you hit this song before you can move on, and it'll be fucking forever because I just couldn't, like, get it right, and it like, just the setting again, the production design brought me back, then having to play the guitar, that was a cool nod to the game, I think.
Yeah. Yeah, those, like I feel like Ellie and Dina really nail those subtle moments together in the show, and it really works for me. I mean, that's one of the best scenes in the second game, and I was so once I saw them walking into the music shop, I was like, "They're gonna do it." And I love it. Also, just, like, I love the idea that you can see with the posters in her room from when she lived with Joel, just, like, how much she probably, like, obsessed over what the world was like before, and, breaking out this '80s song that everyone knows.
Yep.
I loved it so much. It was such a great scene. There's a funny there was a funny video that came out, it was probably during the pandemic, when Mark Hoppus from Blink-182 streams himself gaming occasionally. He has kind of like a Discord, and he was playing this part, and on the guitar, he was playing "Damn It" from Blink-182 and singing along on the stream to it, and he, like, messed up the words, and everyone's like, literally one of your most famous songs, even you're forgetting the words to it, but it was really funny when he was playing the guitar to it. It's, like,
Nice.
just great stuff.
Yeah.
What was your favorite or least favorite change from the game over these 2 episodes?
I'm too far removed from playing the game
Yeah,
to have a
same.
least favorite change to where, like I said, I'm hitting these moments that take me back,
Mhm,
but nothing's really taken me out.
mhm.
Also, if you don't like the changes in the game, like, as a viewer, first you need to stop and think, does that part in the game make good TV? And
Yeah,
not just for your fucked up, you want a full-blown shooter
yeah,
mindset, like, think about
sorry.
good TV. Like, does that make good TV? If the answer's not a resounding yes, then the change probably makes sense, and
Yeah.
just bite me. 'Cause I sometimes I go on these I do this to myself where I go on the
Yeah,
Reddit threads, and I just read what people are saying, and I'm just like, "You're a dick." Like, of course they're not making this
yeah,
for you who wants to see torture porn on TV. Like,
yeah,
get the fuck outta here.
yeah. Yeah, I would say I don't know if I have a favorite change so far. I'm interested to see, was Hanrahan, the girl that Isaac meets, was she in the game? Like, the when he, like, throws the grenade, frags out the car, and then goes and meets the other leader? Because at least I wanna place a bet now that this character is gonna be awesome.
She's not.
I'm excited to
I
see
had
what
that
this
same
is.
question too, and I didn't
Um,
look up the answer, but
so I'm excited to see where that goes. I'd say my favorite thing is building in these characters or expanding them out, like maybe her, to add some depth to what's going on with Isaac. So I'm gonna place an early bet that this is gonna be a favorite change for me. The only thing that I'm wondering about is I'm not getting the rage yet from Ellie in the post Joel death world. She seems like pretty well adjusted to what I remember from the game. And I'm just interested to see how that plays out over these next few episodes. I think we've already discussed that. It seems to be like they're slow rolling the journey a little bit. So I'm curious of like when that's going to come into play and what might incite that in the show. Because she seems generally upbeat in this episode, with the exception of the Take On Me song, which like there was a lot of sadness within that. And she wasn't doing that for Dina. She was doing that, I think, in thinking about Joel a lot when she was in the music store. But in the game, you were ready to kill, and she's not there yet.
I think it's gonna be when we finally meet some of Abby's crew
Some of the
again,
crew.
and I think my, regular old person opinion is that they're trying to make that violence and that rage have more of an impact,
Yeah.
and if you ask us to sustain that for multiple episodes, it's hard. But if you kind of bring her back down and then have this moment of just unrelenting rage, that's going to cause her to make a decision that's going to put other people in jeopardy or potentially get herself hurt or just pure violence towards
Yeah.
another human being, it's going to be more impactful.
Yeah. Yeah, we'll see. I'm curious when that's going to click into place because it just feels a little disorienting. In terms of weak link of the episodes, I don't really have one. I mean, the maybe a note for zombies in this world, learn how to climb a fence. They could have gotten to them there. The infected, you
Coulda,
just
woulda, shoulda.
coulda, woulda, like, let's think about that. Let's stop running at each other into the fence and maybe let's climb over it. I do This was addressed in the official podcast, but I I did have some weird feelings towards what I felt was Dina feels like emotionally playing with Ellie at the end of episode 3, but I think I can just chalk that up to them being like her trying to like feel out this relationship. But I don't know, it seemed like a little bit manipulative.
Why so?
I think because in the prior episode, she specifically told Ellie, like, you're gay and I'm not. And then like they're sleeping together in the tent and she's like, how'd you feel about the kiss? And, you know, I, it just felt like you were just playing with her a little bit emotionally. And Craig Mazin had said in the official that like he wanted people to feel frustrated with the way Dina was treating this, especially because she went back to Jesse. And I don't know, I bristled a little bit at it, but I think it was intentional. So, but I don't know. I'm like, she's probably also confused and figuring herself out in this moment. And is she going about it in the most mature way possible? No. But do people go about mature things in relationships when they're in high school, essentially? Not really.
Yeah,
But like, it's just always frustrating to watch that stuff. Like as you get older, you're like, man, so naive, so young.
that's
Uh,
fair. I don't really have a thought on that, to be honest. I
yeah,
kinda took that one at face value, and I didn't really dive deep into it.
yeah. Who won the episodes for you?
I know who you're gonna say, so I'll pick somebody else. I'm gonna say Dina. I think she's incredible.
Hmm.
Her performance has been spot on for me this entire time. She's my best new character in
Yeah,
our first episode of this. So, I just think that she's a big value add here,
yeah,
and that's who I'll go with.
yeah. I mean, for sure, Isaac for me.
Yeah,
He
I
was great.
mean, yeah.
He was great. I would say Ellie in episode 3. I enjoyed everything she had to do. Joel's grave, the speech at the, trying to get Jesse also had a great episode 3 when he was, training with Ellie. Yeah, I'm excited if Jesse comes back into the game here. What would you give these 2 episodes out of 10?
Episode 3, I'll give a I'll give them a 7 and a 7.5. So episode 3, I'll give a 7. Episode 4, I'll give a 7.5.
Yeah,
Just the intro of episode 4 gets like an 11 out of
yeah,
10, but I still found the pacing a little bit slow in both. There was some of those scenes mixed up, but like I think we've seen enough of the world now to where I need more plot and less like showing me cool parts of the world.
yeah. Yeah, I went 7.5 or 3. I thought it was a solid transition episode. It's never gonna be a 10 out of 10 when you're coming off an episode like episode 2. 4, I really love 4. I give it an 8.5. Um,
Okay.
both episodes are kind of like 75% of it, loved every aspect of it, and then didn't quite land the plane emotionally with me with kind of the tent scene or the pregnancy response scene, but still amazing TV, and
Yeah.
I loved episode 4 so much. Alright, we'll keep the spoilers quick, but we're gonna move on to spoilers, so get the hell out of here. So you don't think Dina is gonna do you think Dina's gonna continue on with Ellie? Like, do you think they're just gonna keep them together?
Yeah. So what I think is going to happen is Tommy and Jesse are going to show up at the beginning of next episode, mid beginning to mid next episode,
Yeah.
Now, mid, because you're gonna have Dina and Ellie doing whatever they're doing, and then Tommy and Jesse are gonna find them.
Yeah.
Or I don't yeah, something's gonna happen. Or, like, they're gonna find themselves in a bad spot, and Tommy and Jesse are gonna save them, something like that. And then Dina's gonna tell Jesse, and then they're not gonna let Dina, like, come on the mission or whatever,
Yeah.
you know, and she's gonna stay behind, but they're gonna come right back to Dina once that's over.
Yeah. Yeah. I'm thinking the same. I think they're gonna just cut out the next bit in the game and have I don't know. I think Ellie might set out, or they both will set out. They'll come across them. Someone's gonna take Dina back to the theater because they think it's a
Yeah,
safe spot to hide out. I'm eager for them to meet up. I've been just wondering, like I've been wanting to see what's going on in the Tommy Jesse world. So I'm excited for them to come back into the show.
yeah.
So what do you think is gonna be the next thing we're gonna see from Abby?
I don't know.
Yeah, me neither.
I'm trying to
I
remember
have
in the
no
game.
idea.
I think it'll be like, because Abby's not there when you meet all these people that you kill in Seattle, and I think
Mhm.
maybe right after that, Abby will come back and find out what happened to her friends, or somebody will tell Abby the news of what happened to her friends and who did
Yeah.
it, and, like,
Yeah.
I don't know, like, that's probably it. I don't remember the first time you see Abby again, but I feel like that's it.
Yeah.
But I was way wrong last time too, so
Yeah, I mean, if I think if I'm, like, thinking about the balance of the episode, I feel like they need to keep momentum with Isaac, and we're also gonna see, obviously, more Ellie and Dina, and I think we're gonna get the reintroduction of Tommy and Jesse here, so I think we're still gonna go another episode without Abby.
yeah,
I would say, I mean, if I were placing bets, I think she'll come back in for episode 6, the penultimate of the season, where maybe Ellie is starting to engage with her crew again.
yeah,
Um, and maybe that's where Ellie gets a little bit more when she starts to smell the blood in the water and Abby's close, maybe that's when she starts to get more into her narrow-minded rage again, where she's on a mission. But I'm I'm enjoying that I'm a little feeling unsettled by where we might be going and how they're telling the story, because it keeps it exciting for someone who knows the story. Any other spoiler thoughts you have?
no, I just keep picturing, like, to your point, I watch all these scenes unfold, and I just keep thinking back to the final scene of the game where you're Ellie. Well, the 2 final scenes, one where you fighting Abby and you both just lose the will to continue this cycle of violence. Your
Yeah,
whole lives have been ruined, and then you're Ellie and you go back to your farm that you lived on with Dina and your child, and Dina and the child are gone. The animals are gone.
yeah,
All you have is this broken guitar, but you're missing parts of your fingers from your fight with Abby, and you can't even play that. And you just the whole kind of point being these cycles of violence end with nothing but tragedy,
yeah,
and it's just going to be heartbreaking.
yeah.
But I don't think we're going to get that till the end of season 3. So
No,
I think
I
we have some
agree.
time.
Yeah, based on the preview, it looks like we're getting maybe an introduction of spores in the next episode, which I didn't think they were going to do in the TV. I'm thinking we're getting the Rat King.
You
I
think so?
Based on the one shot of the in the preview, I think we're getting the Rat King. And I'm wondering if her escape from that is how we're going to come across Tommy and Jesse. I'm having this like I'm sorry, I'm like all over the place at this point. I'm I'm having this thought of like, should I go replay the game? Because the game is not super fresh in my mind as I'm trying to think through these events, but it's also like enjoying because I'm kind of feeling a little unfamiliar with it.
Yeah.
I think at the end of this season I might play the second game again because I'm feeling a little like I'm not as fresh on this as like I really want to be. But
I like not being super fresh on it, to be honest. I like when I find myself remembering things because of the show.
yeah,
That's fun for me.
hmm but Yeah, so I think we get the Rat King. I I think you're right that we're gonna come across Tommy and Jesse next episode, and I think we're gonna start they're gonna get us on the tracks to Ellie having her collision with Abby's crew. But yeah, I think, like I was saying in kind of the non-spoiler part, I'm just having a different reaction to Ellie's decision since we've had so long to sit with this and we know how it ends that I'm not feeling the same intensity that I felt when I played this in terms of like I was fully on Ellie's side in the game. And now I'm just a little bit like, slow down, kid.
Yeah,
This is not going to go where you want it to go.
right.
So it's just such a different experience. And that's not in a bad way at all. I think this is the best part of adaptations where you can have different experiences with the content. All right. I think one more question, then we get out of here. First scene of the next episode. What do we start with?
The fuck if I know. Uh,
Yeah, we were so right last time.
I think it's going to be an Isaac slash WLF Seraphite slash somebody from Abby's team, like that perspective, and then it will go into Ellie and Dina sneaking up into the hospital.
Yeah. Yeah. At the risk of probably being totally wrong, I think we're going to start with Tommy and Jesse on their
Ooh,
way. I don't know if I can't tell if they're going to indicate to the audience that they're on their way to Seattle or if they're just going to have Ellie and Dina come across them. It feels like it would be a little, I don't know, like if they're in trouble and then Tommy and Jesse come out of nowhere, like that feels a little poor writing in my opinion.
it's
I would
definitely cheesy, but I
It's
think
definitely
it's the kind
cheesy.
of cheesy that a show like this might need or lean into because it's a feel good moment and we don't get a ton of those.
Yeah. Yeah. I think you could still have it. I think it'd be good to just let people know they're on their way. I don't know. They're not gonna start with that. They're gonna do something completely different than what we both think anyway, so it doesn't even matter.
I don't know. We kind of covered every single character there.
We covered our bases. All right, you got anything else you wanna say on these episodes?
Nah, I'm good. I'm
Cool.
TLOG'd out.
Yeah. All right. Thanks for listening, everybody. We'll hope to see you with Goodfellas in the coming week, and we'll be back for episodes 5 and 6 in 2 weeks. But thanks for listening. Thanks, Nick. Take it easy, everyone.